What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Sunday, October 9th. If you're joining us live on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. It is Monday, October 10th, if you're listening to the podcast. And this is the early Week 6 odds look ahead, joining me as he does every Sunday evening at the 2-minute warning-ish or halftime-ish of the Sunday Night Football game, John Breech, to talk about the lines for next week. I have a feeling, Breech, that you'll keep it tight with your talking on this podcast because the Bengals are playing on Sunday Night Football.
What? No, me? I would never do such a thing. Okay, maybe.
Yes, good to see you. I like that line. We're going to start Thursday night stinker. Amazon may want to return the 2 weeks in a row. Amazon is going to return the package, Breech, because it's Commanders at Bears, a pick 'em with an over-under of 40.
Yeah, this one is interesting, especially after what we had to deal with last Thursday with the Colts and the Broncos. You wouldn't think we could get a game that might end up being worse, but here we are. We have it. This is really a hard game to make anything of because it does feel like last Thursday where we have two teams that have struggled on offense all year. They can't score points. They're two of the 7 lowest scoring teams in the NFL. Do you think they're going to magically turn things around on 3 days rest when they have to play Thursday? Probably not. And this is a pick 'em. The Bears are playing at home, prime time. I think they're breaking out their orange helmets Thursday. They're just going to have that jolt you need. So I think I'm leaning Bears here, but I do not love either of these teams or either pick I could make.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where everyone's going to complain about it on Twitter. We're going to say things like, if there was a game where you wish you didn't watch football for a living, this would be it, stuff like that. It can end up being entertaining just because Carson Wentz has been in some crazy games and Justin Fields can certainly, what am I lying about it? It's not going to be entertaining. But I like the Bears a little bit too here. I don't think that this line will go flying. Let's look real quick at the Chicago weather. For Thursday, it looks like could be fairly wind. It doesn't look like it's gonna be too bad in the evening. Some wind. That's worth keeping an eye out for though, because there's some rainstorms and some wind stuff that could come through the Chicago area. Check obviously closer to the game time. But if that forecast shifts at all, maybe you could see the total drop down. 40 is insanely low, but if this total was, I wouldn't flinch if this total was 35.5. I would, it's just not going to be a ton of points in this particular game. All right, moving along. I wish you want to keep talking about it.
As much as I love talking about Commanders, Bears on Thursday, I think we should move on.
The total is already down to 39.5, by the way, so I can see that too. If you like the under,
you need to jump on it now if you like the under. That is Brinson dipping out to go bet the under. Good for you, Will Brinson. Always getting in his bets early. The next game we're going to talk about is Patriots at Browns. This is a very interesting game because two teams coming off wholly different week 5s where the Browns lost an improbable game and the Patriots shut out the highest scoring team in the NFL, as if Bill Belichick wanted to just reassert himself and prove that he is still a defensive genius. Brinson, I was just mentioning that New England shut out the highest scoring team in the NFL. And this game is in Cleveland. The Browns are favored by 2.5. Brinson, I think this one's interesting because I feel like the Browns are the better team on paper, but I do feel like Belichick always wants to beat them.
Yes.
He has history with them. He beat them 45-7 last year with Mac Jones as his starter. So he has faced the Kevin Stefanski Browns. And then, Belichick knows all about Jacoby Brissett. Brissett's rookie year was in England. It's a quarterback he knows well. And so I feel like he could be pretty successful at designing a game plan to slow down this defense. So I think I like the Patriots in the plus 2.5.
Yeah, I like the Pats in this spot too. I would guess that this could get down to maybe a little bit closer to a pick 'em, I would think, just because the Pats are catching the points. And I agree with you, like that. The Belichick Cleveland angle is legitimate. Like he wants to, they fired him. He remembers that, and he will play.
Although Browns fans will always yell at you that, we moved to Baltimore that same summer, so it wasn't us. But yes, definitely there is blood.
Yeah, that's right. And I also think that Belichick looks at, we talk about how he likes to break the season into quarters. I think that he understands how crucial the next 5 weeks are for the Patriots. Browns, Bears at home, at Jets, Colts at home, Jets at home. Like those are 5 winnable games. Patriots are in last place in the AFC East. And you start that streak with the Lions, and then you come back and you go to Cleveland, playing a team that don't have Deshaun Watson. I think this is a great spot for Belichick to steal another victory against against a team that, like, I mean, Cleveland just doesn't do a whole lot for me, Like,
oh, I know, Brinson. I know.
Oh, I'm aware, buddy. It looks like it could be, by the way, rainy and cold in Cleveland with wind. What a shocker. And by the way, if that weather actually picked up, that would be a big plus for the Patriots, because I think they would be able to attack more easily with their style of play. The Jets at the Packers. The Packers, coming back from London where they lost to the Giants, now get the other team from the Meadowlands, and they are a 7.5 point favorite with a total that now sits at 44.5. Breech.
Yeah, Brinson, I'm glad you mentioned they're coming back from London, because this is one of those weird games where the Packers chose not to take a post-London bye. They said, we're going to fly back across 6 time zones back to our home, and we're going to play on Sunday. We don't care. And look, we saw the Packers as 9-point favorites against the Giants in London, and they lost. The Giants didn't just cover, they pulled the upset. And so it's kind of hard to trust the Packers right now, and they're just not playing great football. On the flip side, you've had a Jets team over the past 2 weeks has looked better each week with Zach Wilson, and they've won both games. And granted, the Steelers are having their own quarterback problems. They got to face a third-string quarterback in the Dolphins. That's not going to be the same as facing Aaron Rodgers. But if you're going to give me 7.5 points with this kind of revived Jets team, I think I'm going to take it. So I think I would lean Jets here right now.
Yeah, I think I would lean Jets as well. And, one of the things, I know that both teams won in week 5, but the Vikings really struggled with the Bears. Like, the Bears should have won that game. They put up 22 points, looked like a competent offense. And then you saw the Saints, they were very much in a dogfight at home against the Seahawks, who scored 32. The Saints scored 39 themselves. And so I just think it's worth noting that while, that's both teams scored, a lot of points. Like, it was, you maybe a little bit lethargic in terms of their defense is what I would be thinking when you talk about those are the 2 teams, of course, who played in London last week. So maybe have a look at the over for this one, or potentially the Jets. I like the Jets plus 7.5. I would guess that gets. Do you think it gets below a touchdown though?
I don't, because you kind of have the Aaron Rodgers coming off a loss and kind of out for blood.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to bet the Packers at 6.5. I think.
Yeah, I don't think I would either.
All right, Jaguars at the Colts. Of course, the Jaguars, a horrific loss to the Texans. They are back on the road. They were on the road today, right? Yeah. They were back on the road in Indianapolis. Colts minus 1.5, over under 41. Breech.
No, the Sunday Week 5 game was even more embarrassing. It was actually in Jacksonville.
Oh God, you're right.
So that makes it even worse.
Yeah. That's
and here, the last time these 2 teams played, yes, it was an ugly loss to Houston in Week 5 for Jacksonville. But the last time these 2 teams played, Jacksonville won 24-0. There have only been 2 shutouts in the NFL through the entire season. That was one of them. And for me, not a lot has really changed from that game. The Colts offense doesn't look any better. It's still struggling to score points. Jacksonville still looks like they're an up-and-coming team that's trying to figure out what they do well on offense. And so I was surprised. I mean, I know this is an Indy, so it makes sense that they're favored, I guess. But I just think Jacksonville is a better team right now. And so I think I would roll with them.
Yeah, I think maybe getting a little bit of value on Jacksonville just because of how poorly they played on Sunday. And I wouldn't expect this line to go flying anywhere. You saw the Colts, they wanted a field goal fest on Thursday. They got a little extra rest, but it should be a motivated Jacksonville team that's played well and shut out Indy the last time they played. I would guess, if anything, this gets closer to a pick, and I could see that total dipping a little bit. No weather to deal with in Indy, obviously, but I can't imagine how anybody expects to see a lot of points in this matchup with the way that these 2 teams have played recently. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, new rule order next. Panthers at the Rams. So we'll talk about this on the full podcast, but the Matt Rule is his seat is scorching hot right now. The Panthers are 1-4. They just lost in embarrassing fashion at home to the 49ers, just clearly outclassed. And now they have to go to LA where they play the Rams, and then they get the Bucks the week after that. That feels to me like if Matt Rule isn't fired on Monday, then we could see him fired this coming week. I think the Rams played poorly against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys defense is good. I'm a little concerned about the Panthers defensive line getting to Matthew Stafford in this game, but I would tend to lean towards the Rams laying 9 here, because I would guess that it moves up and gets closer to double digits as the week goes on, provided there's no injury information. Rams -9, over under 42.
Yeah, the Rams -9 does scare me a little because they're only averaging 9.5 points in their past 2 games, Brenton. How can you cover a 9-point spread if you can't even score 9 points? And so that part is a little worrisome, but this also feels like a get-right game for the Rams. I mean, you're talking about, you look at Baker Mayfield. If you can rush the passer at all, Baker Mayfield is going to struggle. We saw what the 49ers did to him on Sunday. I think that Aaron Donald and that Rams defensive front can do the same thing. And yes, the Rams offensive line has struggled this year, but this does feel like a game that the Rams know they have to get. They can't blow it. It's at home, and I think they win big. So I think I'm with you that the Rams cover here, even though, man, them winning by double digits is a little, I don't love it, but I think that's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I think you could, I just wouldn't be surprised. Like, the Panthers can just get manhandled. Like absolutely just like put in a corner and just told to sit down and be quiet. Like, they can't do anything about it. If Matt Rule gets fired, maybe it's like a dead cat bounce back game for this roster. But that's we can deal with that, cross that bridge when we get there. Cardinals -2.5 at the Seahawks. Over under 50.5. 50.5. Wow, that is a big number. I mean, it's already up to 51. I would lean over in this one because the Seahawks are like the biggest over team on the planet right now. Geno Smith's playing great, and they just score points and give up a ton.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Seahawks Lions game a couple weeks ago, 48-45. We saw the game on Sunday against the Saints. It was at 39-32. It got into the 70s. The Seahawks have given up the most yards in the NFL this year. They've given up the second most points. And so pretty much any game they're involved in is going to turn into a shootout. I do think the Cardinals are a team that has enough offensive weapons to take advantage of the Seahawks' porous defense. And so, this is in Seattle, so that it makes me a little hesitant to grab the Cardinals here, but I just feel like Arizona really, really needs a win this week. They're going to be desperate. They know they can score points on Seattle, so I think I like them in this spot to cover the 2.5.
I think I think the line will probably move towards Arizona. I'd be surprised if it slices. Sorry, someone was texting me about pizza. If it slides back to Seattle, I do think the total. I swear, somebody just texted me about it. I've never had a bad slice of pizza. But I think the total will creep up a little bit. I mean, it can only go so high, but like the Seahawks just get involved in shootouts, and maybe I like the over in that spot. The Bills -2 at the Chiefs, over under 54. What a game on CBS. The over under is actually ticked down to 53.5. Bills still favored by 2 though.
You know what, Brinson? For me, this just feels like a giant Bills revenge game. All they've been thinking about all offseason is that they were 13 seconds away from beating the Chiefs, 13 seconds away from getting the AFC title game. They revamped their roster to make sure things like that do not happen again. That's why they added Von Miller, so they actually have some pass rush. I feel like the Bills are going to be out for blood. We saw Buffalo trounce the Chiefs last season in a similar situation, and, the Chiefs are going to be coming off a Monday night game, short week. I kind of love Buffalo in this spot.
I mean, I got to think about this one, but my lean is towards the Chiefs getting points at home. But certainly, you can make the case that Buffalo's still the best team in football, and it's a good bet. A total. I mean, you wouldn't can pay me to take the under in this game. Like that's just be not very fun at all. I don't know that I would. We saw it dip down a half a point. I think if anything, if you want to take the under, this is a spot where it's probably like if you want to contrarian under, it's probably going to come down a little bit. It's in Kansas City. I don't think that we've got an issue with weather. Buffalo, you're obviously much more concerned. Nope, looks like it's going to be pretty nice and crisp in Kansas City on Sunday. Big showdown, NFC East. Ooh. Cowboys at the Eagles for once, for like the first time in like I don't know how long. It's like a great Cowboys Eagles primetime game that I'm not going to complain about. Like, why'd you put this stupid NFC East team on there? NFC East team, by the way, what are they? They have like the Eagles 9, like 13 wins between the top 3 teams in the NFC East. I mean,
They have 3 teams that have 4 wins or more. They are just the 4th division since division realignment in 2002 to go into finish week 5 with 3 teams having 4 wins or more.
That is wild. Eagles minus 5.5. It's a big number, Breech. I don't, and look, this line will change if Dak Prescott plays. I don't think he will play. I think they're going to try and keep riding Cooper Rush while he's like, you can't take a guy out when he just can't, he's not losing, like he wins 4 in a row. And you can push back the Dak timeline. So we'll see on that front. I would guess the line comes down to like, I would love the Eagles if Dak comes back and the line comes down a little bit.
Brinson, one thing we talked about last week was when the Rams-Cowboys line opened to the Rams favored at 7.5. We said jump on the Cowboys right now because it's going to move. It moved down to 4.5. It didn't matter. If you grabbed the Cowboys, you won. They covered. They pulled the upset. They did everything. And that is how I feel about the Cowboys. As if Cooper Rush is the quarterback, they just keep winning. They keep covering. They keep doing everything. And they win the same way every week. Their defense plays great, and their offense doesn't make really any mistakes. And so that keeps them in every game. And the Cowboys have not given up over 20 points to any team this entire season. They've played Tom Brady. They've played both Super Bowl teams from last year, have not given up 20 points. So it's really kind of amazing when you think about it. I think one thing to keep your eye on is Micah Parsons injured his groin a little bit in week 5 against the Rams. So if he's were to not play or if he's hampered a little bit,
massive.
That is a huge issue. But look, if the Cowboys keep winning these low-scoring battles, I'm going to keep taking them with the points until they stop covering. So I'm rolling Cowboys here.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I'm an Eagles guy. They're my Eagles, so I'm going to keep backing the Eagles, I guess. But 5.5 is a lot of points, particularly for a Dallas defense. Like, I don't know what Dallas is going to do on offense necessarily, but man, I mean, their defense is very, very good. Again, Dan Quinn, we say it every week, needs to get a head coaching job at some point this offseason. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Carolina could actually be a really interesting fit for Dan Quinn too, if they end up firing Matt Rule. I'm going to probably take the Eagles in this one, but I'm not going to bet it. Like, don't bet it now. I would think it would come down. And then obviously you want to know what the Dak Prescott status is. The total is kind of sneaky. Like, I feel like they could slide under that total pretty easily on Sunday Night Football, but I wouldn't, again, like that's one. I think the Dak stuff really matters in this because it'll change how we perceive these teams. All right, that'll do it for us. It's early odds looking at them. We're going to get Breech back to his precious Bengals. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Breech, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys after the game.